The cobbles are heating up, and if you thought Carl Webster couldn't sink any lower, tonight's shocking twist just proved us all wrong. Coronation Street just dropped a massive bombshell regarding Debbie's heartbreaking condition and Carl's sickening manipulation. With Debbie fresh out of prison after taking the fall for a devastating crash, Carl is already swooping in like a vulture to drain her dry. But the real jaw-dropper? Carl is now officially on the hit list as one of 5 potential murder victims to be revealed this very month. His days are severely numbered. Before we dive into exactly who might put an end to Carl's reign of terror and uncover the twisted details of his latest scheme, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to CoronationST Update. Turn on those notifications so you never miss a single piece of Weatherfield gossip, because things are about to get incredibly intense. Tonight's episode opened with a scene that completely tugged at the heartstrings. We saw Debbie sitting alone, playing on the swings in the precinct. It was a stark contrast to the sharp, business-savvy woman we are used to seeing on our screens. She had just been released from prison after winning her appeal, a massive victory confirmed by her brother, Kevin Webster, over at the Rovers. Kevin mentioned he was giving Debbie space to settle back in, but the reality of her situation is far more fragile than anyone realises. While Kevin was trying to respect her boundaries, a frantic Ronnie Bailey burst into the pub. He was completely out of his mind with worry, asking everyone if they had seen his wife. Debbie had gone shopping hours ago and simply vanished, completely ignoring her phone. It was a terrifying glimpse into the reality of her worsening dementia, a storyline that the writers are handling with devastating accuracy. Fortunately, or perhaps unfortunately, it was Carl who found Debbie and escorted her back to the flat. Once they were alone, the true dynamic between these two was laid bare. Debbie confessed to Carl that she just needed a break, admitting her terrifying reality. Her dementia symptoms are escalating rapidly. The fear of losing her mind, of becoming a burden to the people who love her most, is eating her alive. But in a twist of misplaced loyalty, she looked Carl in the eye and told him she didn't regret taking the fall for his actions. When accusations surfaced regarding that horrific car crash, Debbie actually swapped seats with him. She sacrificed her own freedom and her own reputation to save him from facing justice. And how did Carl respond? With the smooth-talking, snake-like charm of a true villain. He tried to justify his absolute cowardice by claiming he thought she was gone after the crash. He looked right at her and said she wasn't moving, claiming that was the only reason he let the seat swap happen. He even had the nerve to say he wasn't trying to excuse it, just telling her what happened. But we all know exactly what Carl is doing. He is actively planting seeds of guilt and dependency in a woman whose mind is already betraying her. Debbie then opened up about her deepest fears, sharing that she didn't want her loved ones, especially Ronnie and Kevin, to watch her deteriorate. Carl played the perfect, loving biological son, assuring her that she would never be a burden and that everyone completely adores her. But Carl's empathy comes with a massive price tag. It didn't even take him a full hour to exploit this deeply emotional, vulnerable moment. Predictably, he shifted the conversation right back to himself and his endless financial troubles. With calculated precision, he conveniently let it slip that he was £10,000 in debt. He played the victim perfectly, claiming he didn't want to dump his problems on her, but that he owed money to a dangerous woman named Fiona again. Carl laid the guilt trip on thick, threatening that if he didn't come up with the cash, he would have to leave Weatherfield for good. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew Debbie, terrified of being alone and losing her connection to him, would do whatever it takes to keep him around. Even though Debbie wasn't entirely surprised by his latest desperate money grab, her fading mind and desperate heart won out. She agreed to sort it out for him. The moment she agreed, Carl flashed this incredibly smug, chilling grin. He was entirely satisfied that his twisted scheme had worked yet again, just seconds before Ronnie finally returned home. Carl is playing a very dangerous game of psychological chess, and right now, He thinks he has everyone in check. But the clock is ticking loudly for Mr. Webster. How long can he honestly get away with these shady, manipulative actions before they completely blow up in his face? This brings us to the most explosive spoiler of the month. Bosses have officially confirmed that Carl is one of 5 potential murder victims whose fate will be sealed in the coming weeks. The writers are setting up a massive mystery, and the suspect list is growing by the minute. Let's break down exactly who might be pushed to the absolute edge to end Carl for good. First on the list is Ronnie Bailey. Ronnie loves Debbie fiercely. Right now, he is in the dark about the true extent of Carl's extortion, but Ronnie is no fool. When he inevitably discovers that Carl let Debbie take the blame for a near-fatal crash and that he has been draining her bank accounts while exploiting her dementia, Ronnie's rage will be uncontrollable. Ronnie would do absolutely anything to protect his wife. If he finds out Carl is the reason she ended up behind bars, Ronnie might just take matters into his own hands and make sure Carl never hurts her again. Then we have Kevin Webster. Kevin has always been deeply protective of his sister. He already has his suspicions about Carl's sudden reappearance and his supposed change of heart. Kevin has dealt with enough scammers and lowlifes on the cobbles to recognize a rat when he sees one. If Kevin learns that Carl is bleeding his vulnerable sister dry to pay off some shady underworld debts to this Fiona character, Kevin's legendary temper will flare. A confrontation at the garage or down a dark Weatherfield alley could easily escalate into a fatal struggle. Speaking of Fiona, we cannot ignore the dangerous elements Carl is bringing into his own life. We don't know much about this Fiona yet, but if someone is willing to lend out 10 grand to a known drifter like Carl, they aren't the forgiving type. If Debbie's memory fails and she forgets to transfer the money, or if Ronnie blocks the transaction, Carl will be left completely empty-handed. Fiona's enforcers might just corner Carl, and things could turn deadly very quickly. In the criminal underworld, unpaid debts usually result in someone being permanently silenced. There is also a tragic, twisted possibility involving Debbie herself. As her dementia worsens, her grip on reality is slipping. What if, in a moment of confusion or a sudden flash of profound clarity about his ultimate betrayal, Debbie confronts Carl? It wouldn't be a calculated hit, but rather a desperate, tragic accident born from absolute panic. Or perhaps Carl, pushed into a corner with his lies catching up to him, makes a fatal mistake of his own. We know he has a history of reckless driving and terrible decisions. It might not even be a traditional takedown, but a situation where his own karma finally catches up with him in the most brutal way imaginable. The brilliance of this storyline is how it weaves genuine human tragedy with intense suspense. Debbie's diagnosis has transformed her from a powerhouse businesswoman into a deeply vulnerable target. Watching Carl twist the knife, using terms of endearment to rob her blind, is absolutely infuriating for the viewers. It builds this incredible anticipation for his eventual downfall. You can almost feel the tension radiating through the screen every time he smirks behind Ronnie's back. The writers are carefully laying down a trail of breadcrumbs. Notice how Carl mentioned the crash again tonight. By bringing up the swapped seats, the show is reminding us of his ultimate cowardice. He didn't just make a mistake, he actively watched Debbie take the fall and did absolutely nothing to stop it. The truth about that night is a ticking time bomb. The moment the police or the rest of the family realised that false accusations surfaced and Debbie was innocent all along, Carl's web of lies will shatter into a million pieces. As we approach this massive reveal later in the month, every single interaction Carl has is loaded with extreme danger. He is alienating everyone around him. He has no real allies, only victims. When the fatal blow finally lands, there will be no shortage of people celebrating his demise. The only question is, who strikes first? Will Ronnie snap under the pressure of protecting his wife? Will Kevin seek vengeance for his sister? Will Fiona collect her debt in blood? Or will a dark, unforeseen twist leave Carl lifeless on the cobblestones? One thing is absolutely certain. You will not want to miss a single second of the drama, as this dark, twisted saga reaches its unbelievable conclusion. Carl Webster has manipulated his last victim, and the shadows are already closing in on him. Who do you think will be the one to finally take Carl out? Drop your wildest theories and predictions in the comments down below, because I love reading what you guys think. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the dark side of the Cobbles, please make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to CoronationST Update, and ring that notification bell so you are always the very first to know the juiciest Weatherfield spoilers. Until next time, keep your eyes peeled, because the streets are about to get very, very dangerous.